Shalom, welcome to Practical Spirituality here in Asia Torah in the old city of Jerusalem, overlooking the Western Wall. Today we're discussing Judaism's issue with women. This class is brought to you by a question that was asked by someone. What's your first name? First name?
It's complicated.
Her first name's complicated? And where are you from? Is that also complicated? Where are you from?
Well, I live in London now, but I'm originally from Israel.
Oh, you're Israeli?
Unfortunately, yes.
Oh, I love Israelis. I love Israelis more than anybody, I think, because I travel a lot. And I just made the grave error of flying United, who happened to break guitars. And we were just in America, and me and my whole family, we were at SeaWorld, and we were at Magic Mountain, Six Flags, and I didn't get SIM cards for everybody. So I have my own SIM card because I'm in America like half the month, but I didn't get SIM cards for everyone else. And so, but that's okay because you just go up to any random person, because every single person in the world has a cell phone, except for, of course, my family in America. And you just ask them for it. And you're just making a free phone call because no one pays per call. But the answer was simply no. By everyone, unanimous. The answer was no. Unanimous, whether they're in shopping centers, whether it's SeaWorld, whether it's Six Flags, whether they were, just in a foot mall, whether they're in a Starbucks. No matter who they asked, the answer, and no matter who asked, they tried different people. Maybe some of my daughters were more charming than my wife or something, but the answer was just simply no. My wife tried to interview one of them and just say, like, what is the issue here? Because you're like one of like 15 women in a row that just said no to me, and the woman said, the answer's no. So now I fly a lot, and I fly a lot, so I'm well treated there. But they don't even know necessarily that I'm a gold frequent flyer. They don't know. They know it in the lounge because they see me every 3 weeks, but they don't know it everywhere else. They treat you nicely, and there's no real rules. I mean, there are rules, there are regulations, but they're like any other Jew that, rules are suspendable based on the circumstance. And so anyway, I just flew United, and it was like, just even, like, somehow they decided at the gate that all the carry-ons have to be checked. And I'm flying premium class. No one checks a premium class person's bag. It's only so many of us in the cabin. There's got to be room. Like, how is it possible? And there's not. He's like, you could put you on a flight tomorrow. It's you or your bag. And I felt his steely eyes, like Amalek or the Nazis. And it was crazy that he spoke to me that way. And I just got through saying I'm a premium traveler, which means, like, you're supposed to pretend that you
care.
Like me. You don't care. Anyway, that's what he said. And I said, well, I'll just go onto the plane, check above my seat to see if there's room, and I'll come right back. If there's no room, check my bag. No big deal. And he's like, you're not getting on that plane. And he stopped me. Anyway, those of you who know me a bit, which isn't too many people here, but do you think my bag was over my head or checked in the end?
Over your head.
Yes, it was over my head and the overhead compartment. But I did let him check it because I wasn't going to miss my flight. I let him tag the bag. I go right onto the plane, find all the, there was plenty of room. There was nothing in the bin over my head. How did I finally get my bag on? Because every United flight has an Israeli flight attendant. And I go up to the Israeli flight attendant, and I'm like, what's going on here? He's just like, I'll take care of it. And he got himself in trouble. And he was frustrated. He brought my bag from out there and put it in my bin. I never touched my bag. Like, he was like huffing and puffing over what he had to do this for me. And I don't know this guy. I've never met him in my life. And he risked his own reputation on that flight and with the Newark people. Anyway, what this has to do with Jews not liking women, I have no idea. How do we even get on this? I'm the master of digression. But
Israelis, you like Israelis.
What's that?
You like Israelis.
Oh, yes, what a pleasure to be in Israel every time I'm in Israel. And every time...
Yeah, there are many more Israelis.
Yeah, I love Israelis. And you know what? The Israelis in Tel Aviv are probably the nicest Israelis in the world, but you have to look like me to get that kind of treatment. Because every Israeli in Tel Aviv, when you ask them something, because what are you asking? You're asking for directions, or like, how do I find this, how do I find that? And they think you've just popped off of some like news story that they just watched on the media against the Haredim, and this is their, because they hate the community of people who look like me because we're parasites or whatever they want to call us, and you know, we don't give a lot to the state, yet we take a lot, and so they can't stand it that someone who looks like me is someone you hate, because I'm not very hateable. I'm a rabbi. And so when I ask directions in Tel Aviv, every time the guy, he says, "Follow me." And I'm like, "Are you going that way?" He's like, "I wasn't, but follow me." And next thing I know, like 15 minutes later, I'm still following this guy. And he's going to take me himself. This is his own little peace process between the Haredi sector and the Tel Aviv secular sector. And it's going to be his own little, like, he needs to do this. And I don't complain. I mean, I feel a little bad he's going out of his way for me, but it's like, it's nice service, for sure. And they're all like that in Tel Aviv. Like, what can I do for you if you look like me? Is it like that for everyone else? I don't know. Not sure. Not so much. Okay, now the Jewish issue with women. So the Jewish issue with women is one of the things that we got to understand that's a misconception, is that this is generated by the men. Okay, it's generally, the issues with women is generated by the women. Now, so that's one distinction, is it the men or the women? So it's generally generated by the women, just because Jewish women are almost like OCD strict about their Judaism in ways that men wouldn't even think of. And so, like, for example, they have this movement, this like kind of culty movement of wearing a shawl. Like, we got women wearing shawls now, and you know, full shawls. We have burqa ladies in the Jewish community, and we got they call them tilons. There's ones that even have the pointed hat on, so it's just one big shapeless missile. And so a tilon, I think, is a word for missile, I think. So they're called missile ladies, and who's under most of those are usually converts, or definitely people who are not raised observant almost every time. Generally OCD and like freaked out. They're almost always English speaking. Just kind of funny. And I mean, these are people in like Jerusalem, like in Mea Sharim, like you're not expecting English coming out of there, but it is English often, and it is definitely female generated, that kind of stuff. But it's just to know that. Now let's distinguish it further, because there's the OCD crazy Jewish lady, and then there's just the Jewish lady who will not let our people fail, will not let our people fall. She's going to be more observant. And this is why, for all you bums out there, you guys, that's why there's a general principle that you always marry a woman more observant than you, because wherever she's at, where's you're going to wind up. Okay, the woman holds down the fort as far as the level of Judaism, and see, men are bums. You know, and men will try to get away with whatever they can, and your wife's gonna just be like, she's just gonna be like, what's up with that? You know, like, get that smartphone out of the house, or what are you doing to our kids, or, you know, and so the Jewish women are gonna stop you. You know, you're gonna come sliding home. What's your name? Razia. You're gonna be some rich guy, and you're gonna come like doing like a sliding your car 180, like doing like a side slide into your driveway in your little Tesla or whatever it's going to be. And Friday afternoon, like 20 minutes before sundown, quickly get a shower, fix up your do, and say to the whole family, Shabbat Shalom. You're going to go pray, come back to the table, all your wife, kids are all at the table. And then right before you make Kiddush, your wife says to you, Raziel, why don't you tell the kids a Devar Torah on this week's Parsha? That's just her way of just putting you in ice water. And you're gonna be like, what parsha is it? What parsha is it? Because you pay no attention to such things, and you're just Mr. Business guy, and she's gonna be like, okay, kids, go play for a while Daddy learns the parsha. And then as you walk by like this to go get a hummus, she's like, it's parsha shmos. It's parsha shmot. And you're like, thanks. Anyway, but that's our wives. You'd think like I'm exempt from getting thrashed by a Jewish woman, right? Because I'm a rabbi. Like obviously I'm not going to get thrashed by my wife, a Jewish woman. What do you guys think? Who says that my wife, because I'm already a rabbi and very observant and serious about Torah, mitzvahs, and service of God and stuff like that? What do you say? Raise your hand if you think my wife still thrashes me. Well, it was unanimous, which means you all have Jewish mothers. Okay? So, yes, of course she thrashes me. And she recently pulled me over. And when my wife pulls me over, it's literally like getting pulled over by a cop. And she pulls me over one Sunday morning, and it was like, woo, 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 pull over. So I pull over, and she's like, can we talk? And I'm like, oh, gosh, this is trouble. And she's like, the way you and your brothers come home on your mountain bikes Friday afternoon, did I say my brothers? The way you and your sons come home Friday afternoon, it's a winter Shabbos, early Shabbos, you're covered in mud, you come power sliding into the door, you bring your muddy bikes into my newly sponged house, then you would think with 10 minutes before Shkia, you're going to get in the shower, but no, straight to the fridge, open the freezer as well, out come mugs from the freezer, you all pour your craft beers, and you pound your beers in about one sip, high-five each other, then you jump in the showers, and then literally as the sun's hitting the horizon with one of my daughters counting off the seconds, we're making our payas. It's 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Good Shabbos. Because you're not allowed to make your payas on Shabbos. She's like, can't you just show our family that Shabbos is important by taking it in a little earlier? Can't you show our kids that Shabbos isn't what stops you from doing the things you love, but Shabbos is the thing you love? And of course I was in cold water at that one. It was just like, tss. I'm like, yes, mommy. So anyway, it's generally the women who are generating all this. I just want to say one more thing about thrashy Jewish women, and that is that Jewish women are genetically predisposed to thrash their husbands and children. And the reason they do that is because it's only according to the Jewish women that Jews survive. So, for example, we left Egypt in the merit of the Jewish women. The men were serving idols in Egypt. The Jewish men were gone. It was the Jewish women that refused to serve them. It was the Jewish women that believed the spies on their way into the Israel that made us have to spend 40 years in the desert till the whole generation died out. But the women didn't have to die out. Only the men had to die out because they were the ones who believed the bad report. It was the women who didn't serve the golden calf, which was our lowest day in all Jewish history. Not one woman bowed down to that golden calf. It was the women who stayed chaste while in Egypt, a place that was of the worst, the worst depravity when it comes to physical intimacy. It was the worst. And it was the women who stayed chaste in Egypt. So, and it's still the women today, very interestingly, that while the Jewish men, well, let me back it up a little. If you're married to a Jewish woman and she's secular, meaning she didn't get a good Jewish upbringing with her, with actual Judaism in the upbringing, so, meaning it might have been cultural Judaism, but cultural Judaism is not Judaism. So a woman who was not raised Jewish, but in a Jewish home, she thrashes anyway. And this is one of the reasons we know that Torah is true and that we've got this collective subconscious reality about the Jewish women, is that if a woman was not raised in Jewish law, meaning she was raised secular, she will still thrash. But she thrashes for random stuff. You just get randomly thrashed. And this has a direct correlation to, not completely, I mean, I don't want to overly generalize, but it does have a direct correlation to Jewish men in metropolitan areas of the world who prefer to marry Gentile women. Meaning, if you ask a Jewish secular girl in LA and say to her, would you prefer to marry a Jew or a Gentile? She would say, I'd prefer to marry a Jew. If you ask the men, he would say, I don't know if he'd be honest and say he wants to marry a Gentile, but generally they want to marry their Filipino massage therapist who's just happy they came home. Okay? It could have been a week later and they're just like, oh, welcome home. Whereas a Jewish woman, you come 10 minutes late, you're going to be hearing about it for the next 2 hours. So she has complete amnesia that you've ever done anything for her, ever. And if she's Hungarian, it's going to be like, she's going to, after she fries one side, she's going to flip you and fry the other. Yeah? And Hungarian women are super nuts when they get cruel. So so next time you see a Jew in Williamsburg, just look at him and go, you poor thing. So anyway,
But you're not answering the question, so.
I'm getting you a question. I'm sorry.
Where the great women couple is, and the women that teaches the Parshat Shavua to our children, and the great pillars Jewish women in Judaism nowadays, not through the biblical.
Let me just finish this. Let me just finish this part, and that is that in the end, the men don't want to marry Jewish women. So what happens is the Jewish women become rabbis and cantors and Torah readers and presidents of synagogues, unprecedented in Jewish history. Now, if you interview the woman who became a rabbi, she would just probably be having some crazy feminist epitaphs or something of why should the men do it all of. But what I believe is going on deep down genetically inside of her is she's not going to watch the Jewish people fade away. She doesn't know that. She herself's like, if men put on tefillin, I'm putting on tefillin. If men will read from the Torah, I'll read from the Torah. Meaning she'll have some kind of like feminist, like bylines. But, and pun intended on the bylines. And she, that's another one. Sorry. There's another joke on those lines, but I better stay away from those. What was it? I'll tell it anyway, since I don't want people's imaginations going crazy. Is what does it say when in the Orthodox wedding, in the Orthodox wedding, the mother of the bride is pregnant. In the conservative wedding, the bride is pregnant, and in the Reform wedding, the rabbi is pregnant. Artificial insemination, obviously. I'm out of control officially. Anyway, when a woman is observant, though, she thrashes in a way that's important. And that's why all you men should marry a Jewish woman who's more observant than you. And one last thing, if you're watching this on like YouTube or something and you're like having trouble finding, let's just say it like this. We have a saying, if you want to marry Jewish, date Jewish. If you want to marry Jewish, date Jewish. Don't be the loser who says, oh, I'm just going to date Gentiles, but I'll marry a Jew. Wrong. That is the recipe to cut off 3,331 years of our tribe's history. That's a bad formula. If you want to marry Jewish, you only date Jewish. No Jewish girls date in Kansas City. Okay, we'll go for Shabbos in the Upper West Side of Manhattan once a month. It's a short trip. It's a couple $100 for a flight, if not. $200, $300 if you know how to shop. And get there for Shabbos meals. I will set you up for the meals. And if you need me to, but you don't even need me to, just go to any shul, they'll take you home. You'll be in a table filled with Jewish singles at it. They're having an epidemic of Jewish singles there. And there's plenty of people to meet there, and they'll be happy to have some fresh blood. Okay, now regarding the Jewish women, so it's usually the fault of the Jewish women, not the fault, but it's usually the Jewish women causing things, but there are actual laws. So let's get off of Jewish women being the cause of Jewish women seemingly being put in some kind of backseat mode. By the way, I just want to say on the subject of women in the back seat, there's buses in Israel where the women sit in the back. Now, who do you think wants the women in the back? The men or the women?
Women?
The women. Let's close the women's issue there, right there. Who puts the women in the back? The women. Why? Why do the women want to sit in the back? And by the way, how do they get to the back?
Through the back door?
Through the back door. And the Jewish observant women got the back doors to open in our buses. And that became the rule, at least for all the observant communities and all the buses that take you to those communities. The women get in the back door. Why do they want that? And the answer is they want their husbands to be focused 100% on them and not on other women. Well, who said their husband was in the bus? And the answer is, her husband's probably not on the bus, but there are other women's husbands on the bus. And if you want your husband to look at you, well, then don't be a woman who walks around drawing attention. And you understand, that's the way it goes. It's the same thing with guys who watch, who are loose clickers online. You're going to have daughters one day. You want your daughters to be good girls? Well, treat someone else's daughter with some respect and don't click on those sites. Shalom. If you enjoyed watching this, well, watch some more. Send it, click it, forward it, join it, subscribe to it. Keep coming on and joining me in this amazing movement to make a big difference in the world. And the biggest thing you can do of all is to join the YomTovMediaClub.com. Please go online, YomTovMediaClub.com.